Yeah. What's in your insulation? Hi, I'm Eshkalar, the world's greatest Canadian wizard. You can tell I'm Canadian because they don't let you dress like this at Hogwarts, eh? So, and also, I think Canada is the only nation on Earth where a CPO jacket is considered formal wear. Uh, I'm here to talk today about PatchWorld, which is the favorite of my several existences. The time I spent on PatchWorld, which is a world where there's a considerable amount of magic, which means that I, as Eshkalar, was a creature of great and noble power. And I had the Ring of Eshkalar, which, as you can see, is missing. Sad, sad story there. But anyway, it's still happy wherever it is, but he couldn't come with me here because this is a non-magical continuum. Not because you're bad people or anything. It's because this is an old continuum. And the younger continuums still have the minerals that break down to release the magical gauge particle. The gauge particle of the Standing Majical Field. It's called the Kel. How cool is that? So anyway, and in the older universes, these elements have long ago broken down into simpler components, and so there's no longer any magic in the world or in the universe. However, I call in the myriad ways where it's many, many, many universes. You would call them quantum universes, where things are just slightly different from universe to universe, but the difference between this one and this one is significant. See, so there are the younger universes, let's say over at this end, and then as you get here, you get the older universes, and the older universes, and the older universes. As you get to this end, and magic is so powerful in these younger universes that planets can't form. Everything's like raw chaos, and as it ages, law starts to seep in. But at any rate, and planets form, and elements form, and things happen. Good stuff, I guess, for people that care about that stuff, lawful people. But at any rate, the more you go this way, though, in the spread of the myriad ways in the continua, you will see that it gets less and less magical. My original world, the Westermark we used to call it, was here in the really super magical, but just able to hold itself together. So that if there was too much magical combat or something, the universe would start to break apart. It was really dangerous. But you could throw a wish. Imagine that. I wish that. And if you're a powerful enough wizard, you could make it happen. With a small detriment, but that could be mitigated. Anyway, but PatchWorld was somewhere over about here. It's not nearly as magical as this, but it's more stable. And the magic can be used, but it requires more effort on the part of the wizard, smaller effects for the amount of effort that is expended, and there's a considerable amount of feedback because it's a standing magical field, and the wizard, by casting the spell, has a mental picture of something in his mind, and he's moving his hands and feet and maybe his other things in a certain way, like a dance, to become the appropriate lens to direct that magical energy from the standing magical field through himself to do work in the real world. That's the physics of magic. That's pretty cool. It works. Nobody else has ever done this. That's why I'm Eshkalar, because I'm like the guy. Oh yeah, there's no fantasy like me because I live my fantasy. Here I am. I'm a character in my own fantasy novels. And there's guys that are handsomer than me. I'm a bad writer. So anyway, what happens is, in PatchWorld especially, it's best, when you cast that magical spell, you turn your body and your soul and your mind and everything into a filter to take this magical energy from the standing magical field, filter it through your body, focus it, concentrate it, and it comes out of you to do work in the world. A lightning bolt, fix the mailbox, whatever it is you threw the spell for, right? Light the cigarette. Gee, Mom, I guess I shouldn't have used a disintegrator on you for that cigarette. Sorry. Oh, whoa. Dad's going to be mad when he gets home. But anyway, that creates waste. That's right. When any work is done in the universe, that's called physics. When any work is done in the universe, that's what physics is about, doing work in the universe. Some of the energy that's spent on the work is randomized as heat. That process of randomization, the fact that that randomization exists and that things aren't purely efficient, is called entropy. If you're in air conditioning and heating, that would be enthalpy to you guys. It's the amount of energy lost to the system. It's the wastage of the system, why it's inefficient. What you try to reduce to increase the efficiency of the system. So your heat transfer is excellent without creating a lot of extra waste heat that it doesn't need to create, which makes the compressor run harder, which nobody wants to sit in their house at night watching porno hearing ying, 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 ying from the refrigerator, right? Am I right? Huh? I'm Eshkalar. So anyway, that randomized energy from casting a spell, like doing any work. If I dig a ditch, I'm going to start heating up, ain't I? Some of that energy I use is randomized. And that's what enthalpy is. That's what entropy is. That's what chaos is supposed to be. But chaos is so much cooler than that. My foot! So anyway, that energy that's randomized is randomized into the body of the mage, who is the lens that's focusing this energy. If he was just a mechanical lens focusing the energy, then he would heat up from that energy being focused through him, the wastage involved in that. And so, wizards' blood heats up when they cast magical spells. Oh yes, if they cast them right. If they cast them wrong, bad things can happen. Bad things, scary things, perhaps stinky things. So, you want to know your spell really well, because the whole concept of your spell, the part of the pattern of the spell that is your background, whether it's the Thotek knot or the Nakdar web or the Pakchia wheel, or you're using a Shalimar, which combines things. No matter which pattern you look at, your pattern is, in essence, has got quadrants, and each of those quadrants has little interference patterns that I call the ramen packets, because it looks like ramen noodles all screwy up in there. You know, like a good painter will paint a ceiling so it all looks like it runs into each other and so on. Well, that's what it looks like. And each one of these controls a different aspect of the magical power implicit in the lens you can create from that pattern when you hold it in your mind, that piece of the pattern. And you speak the word that you have used to bring that all into alignment, and you move your hands in the way that creates that circuit, so the work comes through, magic comes through, and work is done in the world. Yeah, you're creating a circuit. Yeah. And sometimes, if you miscast a spell, a negative feedback loop. Boom! There's probably some awful illusion I could make here, but why should I bother? I'm Eshkalar. So, PatchWorld is a more practical fantasy place, a magical kingdom, than the Westermark was. Because the Westermark was way too unstable, and anything could happen any minute. Their gods were all in cocaine and stuff. It's pretty wild up there, back there. But here, in PatchWorld, we have a single creature that in the old days they would have called her a goddess. You know, I don't do that. I use the small g whenever I use that word, you know, god or goddess. Because I have beliefs myself that involve a creature that's a capital G. You see the difference here. All my experience has taught me to look for relationships and patterns, and I see ones that seem to indicate, never mind. That's my thing. So for you, though, the person that created PatchWorld, because it was created, was called the Spider Grandmother. Yeah, she comes from a different continuum where she is a worshipped power, right? But that continuum was destroyed. It aged out of existence, I think. And she was one of the very few that managed to escape it, the energy death of that universe. And here, floating in the astral plane somewhere, a little eddy, where things can get to, but it's hard to get away. Or maybe it's the other way around, I'm not sure. She told me, I was drunk. But anyway, she took all the little pieces of rock and planet floating around, and she made herself a planet. And it's got plenty of magical minerals in it. So there's plenty of magic, but it's got lots of moderators. Yeah. Salt water is a moderator in PatchWorld. So it happens it's a Kel moderator, as well as, of course, a neutron moderator. But that would be science. That's law. Who cares? I'm talking about chaos here. Magic is literally quantified chaos. Pure magic could do anything. And that's what chaos is. Anything can happen. And of course, law says usually bad, but that's because they have no love in their souls, or really anything else. They just have numbers. And you know, numbers aren't the same as creativity. You can smoke a lot of numbers and still not be creative. And don't put them out on your knee. I'll tell you what, that leaves marks. I did that at a party because I didn't know. I was all high. Next. Next. When I woke up in the morning, I thought my knee had joined the Shaolin Temple. ... You know, this is the Majical people. I'll be here on the farm all week. Don't forget to tip your cows. Yeah, cool. So anyway, PatchWorld was created by Spider Grandmother because she wanted to have a meaningful existence, and so she wanted to be a good power, doing good for other refugees from other collapsed universes. And doggone if they didn't start to arrive. And so there are people from a dozen different continua that aren't related. Some of them are very far apart on this, plane of myriad ways from very magical to very technical. People that got caught in wormholes, people that got caught in Rick and Morty experiments. Dexter's lab, gone forever. So anyway, some of those people end up on PatchWorld because Spider Grandmother put it in a natural astral eddy where things like that might have a tendency to filter in. Like the fossil beds you find that are where the water would have drained away after the things died and washed all their bones into a collective, like a pit, where the water is draining away. And that made this giant jumble of bones. Yeah. That's what are they called? Paleontologists. Old bone people. Old bone doctors. Old bone stuff guys. Professionals. I'm a professional boner. I'm allowed to say that on YouTube. But I'm not allowed to monetize for it, or else I have to pay somebody tax or something. I forget. But at any rate, if you're interested in boners, I'm sure there's a channel for it. So, my ultimate goal here is to express the fact that PatchWorld is an entire world that was created specifically to be conducive to the growth of cultures by creatures that exist in conditions roughly like those with which the human race is comfortable. We're lucky, but Spider Grandmother came from a continuum where humans worshipped her, and so she honors the human race and wishes to propagate it and make it work right for a change. And that's what happened. That's who Spider Grandmother is. That's where PatchWorld came about, and how all we refugees found our wretched refuse came from all these other collapsed or destroyed, or we were universes, or perhaps we were cast out by a righteous saint or a cleric, or stabbed in the head by St. George or something. So I do want to know about the dragon that St. George slew. What is that whole story? I mean, you're not just telling some story, are you? It's a real thing, right? There's a real St. George, and he really, with a real, and so I really wish there were cameras in those days, because screenshots where it didn't happen, people. So anyway, well, I believe in dragons because I dated a girl who was half dragon. Her front was human and her ass was dragon. This is the Majical people. Eat your mushrooms. So anyway, so you don't get hammered. There's got to be a joke. There is a joke in there. Look it up. You'll laugh. He didn't eat his mushrooms. So anyway, Spider Grandmother's created this world where various people from various cultures and planets and places across the spread of universes could possibly arrive. So the few survivors end up in PatchWorld. At least some of them do. So there are great powerful creatures that were mighty creatures in their old days. The ancient gods that were worshipped by the Greeks, some of them showed up. Not necessarily our universe's versions, but some other universe's version. And so they have backstories, obviously. There's a lot going on there. You know what I mean? These guys, some of them are millions of years old, and they got grudges. That's not always a good thing, Well, my hating you kept me alive. Wait, you lived for me? Dude, that is so bromance. Thank you. I got a stiffy now. You wouldn't believe how mad that makes people. Jeez. And I'm just being me. You know what I mean? Heck, I'm Eshkalar. My first and only consideration is Eshkalar's comfort. Right? People say, oh no, he's a hero because he did this or he did that or he joined a party that was... Dude, I was stoned out of my mind the whole time. Read the books. Gary King. Is Eshkalar not? Stoned to the bejeez all the time. So, you know, I'm just wandering along with a bunch of people I know that don't kill me when I say something stupid. Well, except for Zhao Long. She hot. At any rate, and the heroes get to interact on this world that the spider grandmother has created. Now, there's no script. They don't know. Many of them didn't know each other. They don't know what's on the other side of the world because it's not old enough for all the cultures to have spread out and met each other. So these weird little enclaves of this and that, and things happening. And not all of them human, but all of them from races or creature types that could survive in conditions that humans find comfortable. So there's tropics and, you know, and Arctics and all that. And subtropics and subarctics. Subarctic regions, the atomic mole. What are we going to find down here, Perry? I don't know, but we're going to find it awful fast. Can you imagine if you run out of charge? Oh, no. So anyway, the one good thing about an atomic mole like that would be at least they're putting uranium back where it belongs, underground. I don't know what the hell's wrong with you people. Oh yes, let's take the most poisonous and the most dangerous radiologically substance that there can possibly be out of the ground where it's safe. It doesn't kill people. Put it out in the open where it does kill people. Oh no, it doesn't kill people. We can spin the figures. Cancers, certain kinds of cancers are due to our nuclear test program. Yeah. We're supporting the hospitals. That's nice of us. That has nothing to do with the fact that radiological deaths are a significant part of our overall death picture. Yeah. So anyway, well, not so much in Canada, because in Canada we don't have death. You know, we live forever. I was just talking to Dudley Do-Right about that the other day. He's 147. You know, I'm 1,000. We just don't die in Canada. You know why? Because we don't have to make room for anybody. We got plenty of room here. Wait, we absorbed 3 million Hong Kongers. Yeah, they like to call themselves Hong Kongers because it sounds cool, doesn't it? The Hong Kongers. Tonight on NBC, the Hong Kongers take on Sammo Hung and the 5 Tigers of Canton. Subtitlio en español. And if you don't know why that's funny, you're not Canadian. Okay, that's all I had to say. This is your old pal Eshkalar. Signing off. Yeah, drop me off at the bus stop. Thanks, Valkyries.